everybody. It's Jessica Goose here with realagriculture.com, and joining me right now is one of the keynote speakers at Grow Canada here in Calgary, Alberta, Nick Badminton. Nick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
That's great to hear. Now, you are a futurist.
Yes.
So you are the one that looks in the crystal ball and sees, like, where do you think that the world is kind of going? And especially with what's kind of happening on the global stage right now, it's a little tricky. It's a little tense. So what was the message that you wanted to bring to the folks in agriculture today?
I mean, the big message is that change is coming. You know, we either change or change happens to us. Mm-hmm. And that there's a lot of opportunity out there, but the most important message that I brought to today was that we're actually in a position where there's a climate crisis. We need to create resiliency against the warming of the planet. That warming has come from CO2 being pumped into the atmosphere by industry, by us. And this is how the world has been created. And now we've got an opportunity to change. So I speak about renewable energy and how we can move towards a more sustainable way of working by adopting the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or a number of different technologies and new ways of working, and by influence of our peers in government to want to change to this new world of agriculture that can be so abundant and so efficient, with a new world around solar and electrification and artificial intelligence and data science. Mm-hmm. Change is coming slowly, but suddenly in 10 years' time, the world's going to look completely different. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. 10 years is your mark, eh?
Yeah, I tend to look out 5, 10, 20 years. 20 years, everything becomes fairly opaque, you know? That really is the crystal ball moment, right? Yeah. I'm really just making up science fiction at that point. But 10 years, we're already seeing the evidence, what I call signals of change on the ground, of things that are already starting to move the dial a little bit. Mm-hmm. They've got billions of dollars put behind it, and cultural adoption has started.
Mm-hmm. So I guess, what are signals of change? What have you been seeing relating to agriculture?
Yeah, so the first one is around renewable energy, the use of wind and hydro, which is already a big part of the story in Canada, and also solar, and also battery technology, providing the ability to store that electricity and share it when we need it, you know, when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing, right, or at night. So that's the first signal of change I talk about. The next one I talk about is around mobility and the electrification of that, and then into robotics and artificial intelligence. Being able to harvest data from the fields as well as harvest crops is incredibly important for the modern farmer. So using that to be more efficient with how you apply fungicides and herbicides and whatever, how you use water in closed systems like vertical farming is going to be really important as well. And, you know, and then I spoke about something that's quite controversial, which is the disruption of the protein industry, beef and chicken and pork, by cellular meat production as well. So all these things have got a lot of money put behind them, and they're just really starting to take hold. Things like cellular meat are at least a decade to 15 years away from being at scale, but it's coming.
It's very expensive now.
It's kind of expensive. I think last year I saw a burger that cost growing a cellular meat burger 4 years ago was $125,000.
Okay.
2 years.
Pocket change.
Like last year, it was 14.
Wow.
Yeah, exponentially cheaper.
So it is going down.
It is. Yeah.
Do you feel as though that's the way that consumers want because they're curious? Or do you feel like, why would somebody be enticed to eat a lab meat burger? Because I'm sure you saw my face there.
Yeah,
I
indeed.
don't know if that's going to be me, because I'm like,
absolutely.
Why would I do that when I have beautiful cows to eat, right? I don't know. To me, I just don't want something grown in a lab.
Yeah, but, you know, grown in a lab in months versus grown in a field in years, and the footprint of water and grain and whatever to grow a cow versus something in a laboratory that doesn't have the same kind of environmental impact, or so they say.
I was going to say,
because
so they say.
It hasn't happened yet.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
When you get to scale, that's when we're really going to understand the metrics and economics around it versus... there are some people that are out there. There's a think tank down in Silicon Valley called Rethink X, which is run by Tony Seba and his team, and they're literally saying that 50% of the beef industry in the US is going to be bankrupt by 2030.
Wow.
And they're starting to make some big claims. I kind of agree with you. I don't think the world's going to move en masse to cellular protein.
Yeah.
But imagine those places where it's difficult to raise cattle, where people do need protein in the world. Maybe places in Africa or India or whatever. Right? Imagine those places being helped by this technology, and I think that's where we're going to start to see this catch on fire. You're still going to have curiosity. You're still going to have people buying cellular meat burgers, very much like they've been buying Impossible Burgers or Beyond Meat burgers to understand that.
I have yet to buy one.
Technology, right?
Yeah.
And that's completely okay. But I went to California last year, and Beyond Meat burgers were being sold in the beef aisle. And so there's this challenge into the industry, and it's not stopping.
Yeah.
And I've had conversation with people from the US Cattlemen's Association that have literally said, whoa, no, everything you're saying is hogwash, and we don't believe it, and it's all conjecture and whatever. And it's like, right now it's in the laboratory, and any wild claims that are made are conjecture in some way. But really, as you start to look at the data behind it, and it starts to go to scale, you're going to start to see some really interesting applications of protein that's grown in the laboratory applied to certain situations in the world where it's needed. And then you'll see a wider cultural adoption with people that are just like, I prefer it because ethically I prefer to eat protein because I like it, but I prefer a cow not to die.
And there has to be, I think, those options for people,
Absolutely.
Right? And that it's not going to be nobody's gonna like it all. I mean, maybe they will, maybe they don't. That's what the future. That's what the future holds, right?
Yeah.
What else in regards to agriculture is there? Are you seeing a shift in anything that more and more farmers are doing, or more and more consumers are wanting? Anything like that?
Well, cities are getting bigger. So we're starting to see a lot more farming coming into a city context. So we're seeing, the outskirts of cities with vertical farming and growing greens. We're going to see people, having hydroponics and aquaponics at home. In houses, maybe just have hydroponics in their apartments. IKEA's already selling kits for this, right?
Really?
Yeah, being able to grow your own food at home, and people have done it on a very small scale with herbs.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, I have a little herb garden.
But what about spinach and what about kale and whatever? Yeah. So we're going to start to see these trends. The farmers that are growing grain at yield, large yields, large operations, they're going to be using data, and they're going to be using data science and artificial intelligence to help them really work out how to run it the most efficiently that they can. We need to attract younger people into the fields, and I think technology is going to be that glittering lure that brings people in, because I actually think in the future a farmer becomes a scientist as much as an on-the-ground farmer. Running a team, maybe running robotics and automated vehicles in the fields, and drones to be able to harvest the data, to be able to apply the fungicides, herbicides, and whatever, and be able to manage how crops are growing in a much more efficient way than today. Now, again, it's going to take time, and it costs a lot of money to put this infrastructure in place.
Totally.
But I think that there's a huge opportunity for the modern farmer to take a look at this new world and ask, what if we take on certain parts of technology into our operation, and how can that help us really drive our business forward?
And I think we're already somewhat seeing that here in Canada with DOT technology,
Yes.
which is a robotic, what do they have? A seeder, a sprayer,
That's
and all
right.
that, right? So, I mean, it is coming, right?
Yes.
But that's your 5, 10, 20-year kind of vision.
Yeah.
What do you think, in your opinion, with agriculture, what's really caught your eye that you're like, yep, you guys, is it the precision ag type of it?
The thing that's going to redefine everything more than anything else is the capture of data, sensors in the field, artificial intelligence to liberate wisdom from that data that we wouldn't see as a human. And what I call it is hybrid farming. So you have the farmer and you have the technology. And when we look at the technology, it's farmer and the machine. Farmer and the robot, farmer and the artificial intelligence, farmer and the data. This new hybrid world is going to deliver huge leaps and bounds ahead in terms of production and awareness of our environment. I'm completely blown away by how in tune farmers are to how the world is working out in the field. And I think a lot of people underestimate that. Imagine if you take that person with dozens of years of experience and then you give them a tool that helps them level up even more. It's going to be incredible. And I think that we shouldn't be scared of this opportunity. I think we should be, we should work out the business case and we should work out how that's going to work before deploying. But hey, let's experiment. Let's pilot projects. Let's see what can work. And you know what? Change is going to come. And if farmers evolve, then their operations are going to flourish. If they don't evolve, then there's always a risk of someone else coming into the game and wanting to take away their business, right?
Totally. We'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.